Hi, my name's Mark from Ivory Egg, and in this video we're going to have a quick look at ETS, where to download it from, and a quick look around the software. So, the first thing to do, go to my.knx.org. Here you can manage your account with the KNX Association, and you can purchase products, you can get support, and you can download software. So if you haven't got an account yet, you need to create one. Simple to do, just fill in your details, there's no cost associated. If you have already got an account, then log in, and then you'll get to a page that looks like this. If you go to downloads, you can download software versions. You can get ETS. So here we've got the ETS professional version, which you can download directly. Also ETS Inside, which you can use for configuring KNX systems via an app for smaller size installations, and some other tools for manufacturer tools. So download the software and then you're good to go. Once you've installed it, you'll be faced with the ETS application. Now, lots and lots going on with ETS. It's obviously a very powerful software that can be used for all different types of installations. So it takes a little bit of time to work out where everything is. So we're going to take a look at some of the different pages and what's going on, and we'll look at kind of commissioning projects and how to do that in a different video. So on the main tab, we have lots of information. On the right here, we have a news feed from the KNX Association where they'll update with things that are going on, and also a new products feature where there'll be highlighting new products that have been released to the market. On the left here, we have our project tab. This is where we'll see projects we've created. We can save and export projects, and we can see different statuses. You've got different options here. You've got an archive, so you can back up your projects, and a link to ETS Inside if you were configuring projects with that more simpler ETS Inside software, like I said, which can be used for smaller projects. You have down here at the bottom right the version of ETS, which we can also be used to update to the latest versions. So we've got an update here waiting, which is the master data, which is one of the kind of background parts of ETS. If you have it checked for updates automatically, it'll always check it's up to date and then install them when it can. We then have the license little section, which tells you the type of license. Now in the free version you download, you can have 5 devices per project. You can have as many projects as you want, but only 5 devices per project. When you install a dongle with a license, like the full ETS professional license, which I'm going to do now, it will once it just detects the USB, we can see now that the version has been changed to the professional version, which means it's completely unlocked and I can do as large a projects as I want. We can also see any licenses I have for apps, and down here on the far right we have any apps that I've installed. Using apps we can introduce additional functionality to ETS, sometimes specifically for manufacturers, but some other ones that are KNX Association apps. So down here you can install them, and then you would have your license on your dongle. We'll cover licensing in a separate video. So here we have the main bus tab, where you can see your different interfaces, different KNX installations, or it will detect any IP gateways or USB gateways. I don't have any on the current network, but you'll see them automatically come up here. And we can change how we connect some devices that are sitting on the KNX IP network. For example, you might want to download directly instead of doing it via the KNX bus. So there's an option for that, and some different connection options. Here we can also see the monitor. So you've got a group monitor, which enables you to see what's happening on a KNX bus, and this will link to the group addresses of a project. And then you've got bus monitor, which will show you all of the traffic on the bus, even if it's not linked to group addresses. Now, whilst you can start the monitoring from here, you would normally do it once you've opened a project, so that the information shown is linked to the project. So while you do have the option here, it's not the normal way of doing that. That would be via a project once you've got one loaded. And the same with diagnostics. You can do the diagnostics features from within the project environment. But there's different settings, like unloading a device, which will take all the information from a device and blank it. We do that by putting it into programming mode. We can read information from a device by typing in the individual address. And then we can check if there's devices in the system in programming mode. If an address is found, we can even scan a line and find all of the devices. So lots of different tools to make it easier to program. So the next tab we have is the catalogues tab. Now here is where you can find the products from different manufacturers and add them into the software. You can add files manually. If you go to a manufacturer's website, you can download their database or their driver files, and you can import them. There's also the online catalogue function, which finds them for you automatically. But if you've got a new installation of ETS, the first thing you're going to need to do is select your market, and this tells it which it sets the language and configures it. So I've just start United Kingdom. That will then link the online catalogue to the right region you're in. So once you've set the market, it's going to link to all the different manufacturers that you've got selected and make those products available to be added into a project. Now we can customize the online catalogue. If we go into the settings tab and then online catalogue, we can tell it which manufacturers we want to see here. So we can select specific manufacturers to narrow down the products that we want to see in our online catalogue instead of showing all of the KNX options. We can also update it, although it happens automatically with the default settings. So really useful just to come in and do a quick check, make sure you only maybe simplify the view here, or if you want to download all manufacturers and have them available, then fantastic. Most manufacturers now have their products in the online catalogue, but not all. Some of them you will still need to manually add the catalogue files, import them here, and then once you've got them in your catalogue, that's all you need to do. If we click on a product, we can see some device information. Here we can see the bus current, which is useful for specification to know that make sure the power supply is sized correctly. So most manufacturers will have that information, and we can also see some version information for the application. It is also possible to export your catalogue, and you're able to export a limited set, which can be quite useful if you've got engineers on site and they don't have access, or you don't want them to be dealing with the whole online catalogue. You want to give them just a reduced function set. You can do that by exporting. Now this is online, but you'll need to be online to download the product into a project. The list may be visible when you're not online, but to actually add them into project, you do need to be online. Once they're in the project though, that's an offline instance of that driver file. Any changes you make to it aren't linked back to the catalogue, it's standalone. And finally, we've got the settings tab. There's lots of different things about presentation and how ETS looks. You can remove the news and product information if you want from that front page. You can have warn on delete or not. Lots of different options for just how it looks. You can change your default languages. You can tell it where you're storing your project archive. Just remember, if you're storing your project archive onto the same hard drive that ETS normally runs on, it's not really backed up. You really want this to be sharing into some form of cloud-based server, so it's off the hard drive, or backing up from this folder onto a USB or something physical that's on a separate machine. You've got the troubleshooting and the diagnostics tool. If you're having any issues with ETS and you want to raise a support ticket with the KNX Association, the first thing they'll ask you to do is to run the tool diagnostics, which just runs through the software, makes sure everything's configured properly, and generates a diagnostics file so that the KNX Association can offer you much quicker support. I'd suggest running the diagnostics before submitting your ticket in the first instance, because it just saves that first step. When you know they're going to ask for it, just provide it straight away. So there's some different features in here for what you're logging, but you'll only need to go into here if you've got some problems. Again, import export, the default settings are okay unless you need to change them. You've got some shortcuts here for all different keyboard shortcuts, which are really useful to customize or just to know that they're there. The ETS programming environment has a huge amount of shortcuts and lots of different links and ways to do things. Personally, I've never used the keyboard shortcuts because I've always found the visual options within ETS sufficient, but there's lots of options if you need them. And you can also configure label printing or add your own logos. So when you create documentation from the project, it's formatted in the way you want. So the last thing we're going to do, we're just going to create a new project quickly, just so we can see the project environment briefly. We'll go through this in a separate video. Once we create a project, we'll open the project. To go back and forth from the project view to the main ETS view, it's hitting the green ETS up at the top left. So we've just come back to the overview. Here we can click on a project, and there's lots of information about the project. We can give it a name, number, we can track when the project started, when it's due to finish. We can even change the status of the overall project. We can also do this individually within the actual project environment, add it to specific instances of items, but we can track the overall. And we can add comments. Now this comment is for the main project comments. It might be where you provide access details for the property or store the customers' names, that kind of information. On here you can set a password. This is a password for the project. Now you'll need this if you're using KNX Secure, and it's good to have this on your projects. The BCU key sets a password on individual products. Now I would strongly recommend not using this, because if this information gets lost, it's almost impossible to recover the products. Definitely worth protecting the project and looking at using KNX Secure, which protects the communication, but locking individual projects down tends to cause more issues in the future. From security, this is where we can see any KNX Secure devices we're using, and we can link the pre-shared keys from the product into the software, which needs to be done. We've got a project log, and this is where we can use to track individual things that have happened, such as created a new project. This is where you can log what you've done on site, track when you've completed things if you want. I use it to just keep an overall view of what I've done on a project, so added some new products or changed a few settings. You don't want to go into the real fine detail, but definitely worth adding in here. And then finally you can store project files against the within the project. So it might be floor plan layouts, it might be circuit schedules, it might be other customer information, but you can add them in here, and then when you do an export, it's going to export it all as one package, which can be really useful. Now we've created a new project, we can see how to export them. So you highlight the project and you would click export, and then we can back up the project individually, export it, maybe transfer it between ETS versions or ETS between engineers. This would be different to the actual archiving of the project, which is set up in the settings. That's it for this quick tour of ETS. If you've got any questions, please post them in the comments below. Please subscribe to our channel for other videos. Thanks for watching.